This is another Sacred Uprising Institute video today, and today we have Bliss, and she will be doing another series in the Conscious Evolver. So we're going to give this a few moments. We will be starting in about a minute, and I just wanted to get this up and running and in preparation for our video at 10 o'clock. I see Courtney. It's nice to have Hey, honey, how are you? That's my daughter that's watching right now. And we'll start our announcements here in just a moment. And I am just sharing this to my pages, so I am not, so I'm just sharing all this to my pages right now, so people can be watching this live. So, here we go. Okay, we have a few people watching. Hi, Christopher, it's good to see you as well. Miss your face. And I am bringing Bliss on right now. There. So let's get started. It's good to see everybody today. Hi, Dak, it's so good to see you as well. I want to get started and talk a little bit about some of our announcements. But before we do that, just a reminder, hi, Bliss.
Hi, gorgeous. Whoop.
So just to give everybody just a little bit of information about Sacred Uprising. Sacred Uprising, once again, is a platform for spiritual and life transformation. This is a one-stop oasis for continuing expansion from beginners to masters to beginners again. So Bliss, I am so excited to have you back on today. And just so everybody knows, Bliss, she was supposed to do her video, I believe it was yesterday, but her little one had really bad case of pneumonia and she's doing better, right?
She's like coming along stunningly. Good. She's just such a champion. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. So just a couple of announcements. I won't go through all the ones that I've been doing all week, but we have an exciting, we'll call it a contest. So hey, Leanne, if you go to our YouTube channel, which is Sacred Uprising, between now and Friday, you will be entered into a contest to win a quartz crystal. And I'm not talking about a little tiny quartz crystal. The value of it is $50. And so it's a nice crystal, trust me. And I will be showing everybody next week what the crystal looks like. I actually have it set aside at a store and I have to go pick it up, but I'll be out of town until Monday. So, so please go to Sacred Uprising on YouTube, subscribe, and there's several benefits. Number one, there's a benefit that you could have a possibility of winning this crystal, but also the other benefit, added benefit to that, is that if you can't watch these videos live on Facebook, at least you'll be notified on YouTube when we have a new video downloaded, and the videos are getting downloaded within 24 hours of us actually doing them. So that being said, Bliss, you look beautiful today. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for saying that. I've just spent the last, week and a half not sleeping and taking care of my little one. So it felt nice to actually, come into myself and put some makeup on and just wanted to give a shout out to all these beautiful beings that are joining us right now. Leanne and Papa and Melissa and Deanie. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's so great to have
you all here.
I know I've been getting messages. I know on Facebook, people have been reaching out to you regarding solar, but they've been also messaging me saying, when is Bliss coming back? So excited about it. So before we jump into the next video in the series called Decompression, let's talk about your workbook. If people want to follow along digitally, they have a workbook, a digital workbook they should get. So why don't you tell them how they can do that?
That's awesome. Yeah. So at my website, blissprema.com, there's a few places where you can access it. It's only $10 right now. It's the first version. I'm in the process of creating an online course. Something really simple and very financially accessible for everybody, so that every single step of the way you have all the information about where you are in your shift and evolution. So yeah, blissprema.com.
Wonderful. Well, last week we talked about cup full. So why can we give a little bit of a summary what cup full means and why we're going now into decompression?
Great, thanks. So yeah, basically what happens is throughout our lifetime, we are all evolving, whether we're aware of it or not. And so because of a very profound experience that I had, I was able to identify that we're actually going through 8 stages or spaces of shift throughout our life. And so the first thing that we want to be able to do is identify what aspect of our life is looking, it's what's being brought up to be revealed and like improved or upgraded or healed, so that we can continue on. And I mean, we all know that we're these powerful beings here in these human bodies for this spiritual journey. And so the first stage that we acknowledge is called cup full. And so it's that this being is up to here. It's so full with either stress or complacency or unhappiness, or even just simplicity. It can be staying in a marriage for too long when you're unhappy. It can be staying in a job or a career that doesn't feed your soul, that you're not passionate about. It can be so many different ways of being that we just get used to, and we kind of, that becomes our familiar. But usually the indicators for a cup full is that you recognize that you're no longer happy, you're feeling stressed out, you're overwhelmed, and those are kind of like the 3 main ones. You're uninspired. And so then once we can tap into these messengers of emotion that are coming up for us, we can go, oh, hey, wait a sec. This is an opportunity to be a conscious evolver. And so what that is it's the ability to reclaim my personal power, rather than being someone where things are happening to me and I'm just in a reactionary, like almost defensive state. Now all of a sudden I'm a proactive being who is consciously affecting my life in really powerful and positive ways.
I love that.
So then yeah, thank you. And so that brings us to the next stage of decompression. So once I've been able to identify that I'm in cup full, then I know that the next stage coming is decompression. And so for me, what I love about this is as soon as we know that we can identify what the stages are, we know what work we need to do. We know where we can evolve to. We know what we can almost come to expect.
Yeah. And you made, let me interrupt you here for a second. You and I were having a discussion yesterday, and it was only through Messenger because you were busy and I was driving, and don't judge me, I was on Messenger during the stoplights. So everything was misspelled and I was like, oh my gosh. But you said something that really, it really moved me, and it shifted me to where I was actually, this morning I was getting downloads regarding it, is that we were talking about chakras, and we were talking about that we are truly one with the universe. We are, again, in Judaism, the word God, there is no name for God. So we are we'll call it the energy of the universe. We'll call it the force of the universe. We can call it the universe, the divine, the creator, whatever you want to call it, the one. We're having, it is having that experience through us, and there's no us because we are all, it's one, it's just one. It's sort of like you look at me and I am Trisha, but I have many different parts of Trisha. I have my heart, I have my lungs, I have my esophagus, I have my mouth, my tongue, my hands, my fingers. So it's the same with the universe. It is having this breathing, ever so beautiful motion of experience through the mountains, the flowers, myself, the sky, the sun, and the moon. It's all in flow. And so when we go through this process that you're talking about, the way that I see it is that it is getting back into the flow, the natural flow of the universe, which is a spiral flow. Because if we have something, when we notice our cup is full, which is a beautiful way to describe it, that's a block in the energy, and you can't keep going on the spiral, which is the flow. And so that stops everything, and you can feel it within your cells. You can feel it within your body and your spirit when you hit that block. And it's a matter of stopping, identifying that block. And now we go into the first step, right?
Well, thank you for sharing, because that's exactly when we want to become conscious evolvers, is when we acknowledge that we have become stuck and blocked. And when we see these repeating patterns over and over in our life, and we think that we may have resolved it, and yet it comes back up in our life because obviously there was pieces that we weren't able to fully heal and reveal. So Dacre in his interview the other day said, source flows through me. And I just thought, oh,
yes.
Right? Source flows through me, source is me. And when we all come into that remembering, then it's easier to start becoming consciousness evolving. So we are all these beautiful expressions of source, all unique and distinct in our own way. And yet we are still this awareness, this consciousness that's moving through time and space. And yeah, so for me to be able to have this system integrated into my life has made my life accelerate in a way that I didn't know was even possible. So once we recognize that aspects of our life are in cup full, we know that the next step is decompression. So for me, decompression is, and like, I just want to do a little bit of a test with everybody watching right now. Just take a moment and close your eyes. And just take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, I'm just curious where your shoulders are sitting. Okay, so are your shoulders kind of up, or are they fully in a relaxed state? And then take another deep inhale. And as you exhale, just bring that awareness back into your abdominal space. And just check in if there's any tension. And just bring that breath into your sacral space. And just exhale and just see if you can feel a release of tension and energy in there. And just go ahead and open your eyes. And I'd love to hear from the comments. We are always in this reality, and we have all these structures that keep us what I call the go vortex. Mm-hmm. And so it's so easy to get caught up in that go vortex. I mean, for me this morning, it was make sure my daughter 5 scrambled eggs and her antibiotics, and connecting with my initiates in the initiate circle, and having a shower and putting makeup on and rereading my notes. And the next thing I knew, I was like, my shoulders were up to here and my belly was tight. And it was like, whoa, Bliss, like decompress. And so the easiest way for me to remember decompression is it really feels like letting out the air of an overpumped tire.
Okay.
And it's that big exhale. It's letting the shoulders drop down. It's being aware of the tension that we're holding in our belly. So what we want to do in decompression is we really want to consciously create space. So when you're in decompression, is you've kind of got that inside voice saying, I need space. And so we are going to consciously create space now. And so this is a purposeful walking away from the stress and the tension, and a very conscious decision to choose peace. So we recognize when our body's feeling constricted and contracted that it is time for decompression.
That was a great analogy with the tire, because because I learned by visualization. So that to me is like, oh, I get it. Okay. That's great. Okay.
Yeah. So the mantra for decompression is, I notice what's going on inside of me. I honor the process and value the honest time spent with myself. Because what happens when we choose to walk away from stress and tension and unhappiness, and we consciously choose peace, and we take ourselves to a place where all of a sudden, and for me, decompression can be 3 minutes. It's walking away from your job and taking a break for 3 minutes, even if it's just getting out of the office and going outside and just breathing in the fresh air. It can be walking away from the house and going down to the park or the ocean or whatever, a place of solitude that's nearby you, and just maybe sitting on the grass and grounding with your bare feet on the earth, and just really taking that moment to get internal, to get, maybe even a meditative state. And what happens when we take this time for ourselves is we start getting a real honest response, a real honest reflection of what's going on inside for us. Whereas if I didn't know about the conscious evolver, I might have stayed in that cupful state and then started to create a pattern of comfortability, of familiarity within me, that this is just my new normal. So we're not allowing that to happen. We're taking control, reclaiming the personal power, and stepping away from the things that aren't making us feel good.
It's interesting that we're talking about this today. I had a conversation with somebody that I know in California, and she was saying she's in a beautiful home. She is now going after what her dreams are, and that's to be in the wine industry. And she's doing all these amazing things, but she is consistently being in her head and the self-talk. And she's not taking the time to do those things. So she doesn't feel empowered right now. And I told her, you're not taking care of your soul. Just, you have to stop and take time for you. But I like how you're, 3 minutes can make a big difference. It doesn't sound like that's a lot of time, but I got to tell you, just those few seconds of sitting back, closing my eyes, and decompressing, because today I had a very busy morning. I've been up since 6, and it was phone call after phone call and meeting after meeting, and then quickly having to jump off of one and call you and get all that. So that made a huge difference. So if you can take 3 minutes, think of the difference it can make, and do something that feeds your spirit and your soul. It's one of those things that you can also close your eyes and drop from your head and drop down back into your heart, and everything flows from the heart.
Beautiful. And so decompression, the thing with decompression is, and I like what you were doing with your friend, was you were offering her support. And so it's the same thing in decompression. We really want to make sure that we let our immediate reality know that in this moment we need to decompress. And so what's great is the people that are conscious evolvers, we all speak the same language. So when I say the words decompress, everyone around me understands that I am experiencing cup full, and that I now need support to do what I need to do in order to decompress. And so asking for the support of your family and your friends and your community is a really beautiful way of being really radically honest, which I'm a huge advocate for.
Today on my video called Calling in the One, the step I'm going to talk about today is detachment, but that's also decompression. Isn't it? I was like, wow. And so I'm going to be referring back to this video, is that if you want to learn how to detach, to listen to this video, because there's many different ways to do that. You can do it within, and you have to do it without as well, with the outward, with the external situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for some, Trish, like 3 minutes, 3 hours isn't going to be enough. Right. Like, in my lifetime, 3 times now, I have literally given away everything I've owned and walked away from everything that I had become and created to that point, and gone on sabbatical. So that's sort of like one end of the spectrum in terms of like, going away for 3 months to really get internal, to really detach from all of the material realm, to detach from all the patterns, to detach from perhaps all the toxic patterns that are recirculating in your life. So that's one end of the spectrum. And I highly recommend that for anybody that hasn't been on spiritual sabbatical yet. I've gone to Guatemala, India, and Kauai in order to do that in my life. And then over here on the spectrum is the 3 minutes. So it's the encouragement for people in needing decompression to really start to honor the need for self-care.
Yes.
And what I've learned, 2018 has been a year of mastery for me, and self-care was the biggest lesson that I needed to learn from in my mastery. And what that was it was the ability to choose self-love, to choose self-care, And then what that does is it creates an evolution, because you become inspiration for the people around
Right.
you. And then they start choosing, and like they witness your self-care, and then they start choosing it too. So decompression actually becomes this gift, a gift of reclaiming power and honoring self, that then reflects out into your immediate reality and creates that beautiful, peaceful wave.
That's beautiful. And I don't, there's not a single person watching that doesn't need this at one time, or there many times during the day, or once in their life. This is something that is very important, and it's about staying within that place of peace, that space of peace in your life. And it really has to do with listening to yourself.
Yeah, well, and like I had mentioned earlier, you know, when aspects of self are looking to be improved and upgraded and healed, it's because they're not resonant anymore. They're not, their frequency doesn't work with the being that you're becoming. Right. And so things will come up, and they're literally like asking, they're like just hoping and praying that we will take the time to have this honest internal reflection, so that we can really ask ourselves the important questions. You know, so for example, I was in a beautiful 13-year connection with my beloved, and yet I kept finding myself in cup full. And when I actually took the time and went to Bali and had that time to myself, and I came back, I was able to take some honest time with myself and say, while this 13-year connection has been everything that I hoped it would be and more, it's not what this being needs now.
Right.
And so, you know, it's not sometimes the easiest decisions to make, or the easiest upgrade or improvement or healing that needs to occur. And yet my level of happiness has like tripled, because now I'm where I'm supposed to be, on the path that I'm supposed to be on.
So let me ask you this question. So you needed to decompress with the relationship with your beloved, but during that decompression with him, didn't you have to decompress from that decompression? Did you? Does that make sense?
Well, see, what we know comes next, you know, so because I've chosen this state of decompression for myself, what we know comes next is called deconstruction.
Deconstruction.
And so as we're in this state of grace, you know, this exhale, where what was once shallow and tense and not easy to access, now what was constricted is now open, and what was shallow is now rising and surfacing. And so knowing that deconstruction is coming next, I've allotted myself the time and space to be able to honestly look at those blocks and the places that weren't serving me, and the programs that are spinning around, or the patterns spinning around, that I would keep reliving over and over and over again. So decompression is that exhale, and it's also a step into sacredness, understanding that the next step coming is deconstruction, and that one's a good one.
And I love the word sacredness, not just because it's a sacred uprising, but we are sacred. I have tattooed in white on my arm, it says sacred, divine, and holy. And I did that. I did it as a white tattoo because it's not something I wanted everybody to see, but it was a simple reminder to treat me, that I needed to treat myself as sacred, divine, and holy. And this is just another way to do that, to take that time out for me, take that time out to identify what's going on inside internally, then decompress, and then we'll of course next week talk about you know, the deconstruction. Is that what you called it? Yeah. See, I'm still learning too.
Good. We great. I've already been receiving private messages from people, and they're saying, I'm in cup full, and I'm like, oh God, you're speaking the language. It feels so nice. Yeah.
Yes. We also have, I want to do a shout out right now. We have Jill Walker Patterson. She's actually my co-founder for Sacred Uprising, and she's watching right now. We have Maria and Christy, and there's quite a few others that made comments, but I can't see those comments anymore. I'm so grateful that you all are watching. So let me ask this. How do you teach your children how to do this? Because if we're doing this for us, teaching our children to do that, I think is as beneficial as teaching your child to meditate.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like what I just said when people send me messages and they're like, "Oh my God, thank you for letting me know. I've been in cup full and I didn't know." What I love, what I've loved, I've taught the Conscious Evolver in so many conferences across the Pacific Northwest, is that there's communities of people that are now sharing this kind of language. And so it's easy to understand where the other person is at when we understand what the stage is that they're in. And so even with my children, I can say to them like, hey, like you're in cup full right now, let's go decompress. And so we have this common understanding of how we can support each other. And so, my 4-year-old, when she starts to get, into her hyperventilating temper tantrum power mode, it's those reminders to be like, hey, can you take 3 deep breaths, and why don't you go outside and have some fun on the trampoline? And so it's always those, I think really too, what I'm really hearing is nature has a real beautiful part in this, in that, the second I open the door, there's birds, there's flowers, there's my beautiful neighborhood, and it's just a really positive change of scenery. And so I think especially with children too, giving them an opportunity to have a change of scenery. It's like stepping out of the pattern. So for children, I think the encouragement to step away and step out of the pattern as well, whatever it is that they're experiencing. And, I have to stop saying, that's my goal. So if you hear, like, I get a little elastic and smack myself every time I say, so what was I going to say? Children getting out of the
patterns and being in nature.
Being in nature. Yeah, there was something there. It'll come back if it was meant to be. But I think with teenagers too, especially, that's what it was. What I learned when I went to Bali, the biggest gift that I received was to really have our children be our #1 priority. And this was after being in Bali for 2.5 weeks, where there's a prayer field that covers Bali. It's absolutely sacred and divine and beautiful, very, very honoring. And they every single day they say their prayers and they get the most beautiful flowers. It doesn't matter what their income is, they always have money to buy flowers every single day, and they take it to their temples and they take it to their grave, their beautiful grave stones, and they go to their breathing pujas, fire pujas, and yet even though they're so into the sacred, so tapped into the prayer field, still their children come as the first priority. Oh. And so just to make sure that at all times our children's love tanks are just filled. So yeah, to answer that is to help our children decompress in whatever space they're in. And I see children get into cup full a lot, and that's just to really be the active decompression for them and make sure that their love tanks are filled in whatever way we best know how. Great question.
I had a conversation with a lady yesterday, and we were talking about our children, and she had asked me, it's the first time I met her, and she asked me, if I had kids, and I was talking about the relationship, because I said my youngest is 16. She goes, that's got to be difficult. And I said, no, it's not. It's the relationship. And I know this is a little off topic, but I still feel led to talk about it a little bit. I've learned with my kids, before I had my kids, I had a discussion with a woman. I had the utmost respect for her and the relationship she had with her teenagers. And I said, what's your secret? And she said, I don't react, I respond. So when they tell me something that I don't agree with, I don't react to them. I have a conversation with them about it to ask them why they feel that way or why they want to smoke or whatever it may be.
Well, you know what, Trish? That's deconstruction. That's the next step. Well done. Exactly. So you see this is what I love about the Conscious Evolver was when it was transmitted to me, when it was downloaded to me, it's so simple. And that's what I really appreciate about this system, is that there is simplicity to it. And when we look, so speaking of children, honey, just go ahead and get some food. It's okay.
Go decompress.
Just help yourself, baby. Perfect timing, right?
This is real.
What I love about this system is that it's always been flowing through our lives.
Right.
And so once everyone has the full system integrated into their knowing, hi, go help yourself to some food, okay? Then we can get to the point where you can look into retrospect, look into the past, and you can see how your patterns kept going around and around and around, and you'll be able to identify how you actually went into the conscious evolver each step of the way without even realizing that that's what you were doing.
Right.
Like it's so beautiful. Like it really is a divine gift that we've all been gifted. And you know, for all the people viewing, like I just want to take a moment to just thank you, because it's truly an honor to be able to share this with you. So thank you.
I saw that Christopher is watching. He's one of our speakers. We have Dak watching, who's another one. Christy, Denise said adults can use that change of scenery as well. And that's absolutely true. And yeah, you know, most truth, Robert, it's simple. It's simplistic. I think that sometimes we make things more difficult in our minds than what it really needs to be. And if we're going to be so kind to our children to respond to them, why not be kind to ourselves, that we're not being reactive to our thoughts, that we can really see our thoughts for what they are. They're just thoughts. They're not reality. And we can drop back into our heart space, breathe, and then respond to ourselves instead of reacting.
Mm-hmm. Well, because our children are just little mirrors of us, right? And so, I mean, it's really easy to look at what's going on for them and to be able to reflect that back to ourselves. Right. And so we start taking, I call it radical accountability. When we start taking radical accountability with our creation that is literally sitting there in front of us, reflecting back to us, then it you know, to be able to take that time and in the heart space, and then to step into the next step with deconstruction. I mean, there's really no greater way to be in service to our beautiful creation.
Right. Another, you know, this goes back to one of the other videos that we talked about, when we can go into the decompression to take a breath before and realize that there is no right or wrong. Because if somebody is attacking you, you can go and decompress in a split second, go, there is no right or wrong, and actually hear what they're saying and try to understand where that pain is coming from or what is really going on behind the scenes. Because so many times when somebody blows up and there is an issue going on, it's because there's pain somewhere involved. So if, oh, hi.
This is Snowball. Apparently she needs to join the feed today.
So that's too cute.
And that's little solar love. So I did a huge amount of heart space clearing for the collective over the new moon and equinox. So she's a real champion. I'm so proud of her. So, normally I wouldn't do a live feed with my children here, but I figured we could all handle that, having a little bit of solar love in our life.
Well, I love this. This is really, I love, you're giving us a beautiful staircase to walk up to a beautiful life. And I love these steps that we're going through. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And so what I wanted to just add there was when you mentioned somebody attacking you, these are definitely things that happen, you know, in the third dimensional frequency. So when I speak of the dimensions, I only use them as an analogy of frequency, and then that way we're all speaking the same language, right? So we know that third dimension is filled with fear. And my beautiful friend Lorcan O'Toole was the one who really graced me. What a fantastic teacher he was for me at that time to understand. And so third dimensional frequency is where people will need to attack you in order for you to really see something within yourself that needs to be healed, upgraded, improved. And as a conscious evolver, I'm 5 years into this process. Those experiences no longer need to come into my life because I can maintain my heart space. I can maintain the frequency of fifth dimension. So that's the beauty as we do the work. And it doesn't need to be hard work. That's an old way of thinking. As we do the work through and using the conscious evolver as a guide, things get easier, they get better, they get more loving, more peaceful. And you know, my reality is much different than some other people's realities, and it's because I've been willing to do the work and really honoring the heart space as the frequency that I am committed to, that I am.
And your frequency is love. And that's very evident in the words that you speak, the smile on your face, and what you teach. It's love.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish. Likewise. So yeah, I think that's oh, so just the one the tool that goes along with decompression is to focus in on the sacral chakra.
Okay.
So the sacral chakra is known as our creative power space, our storehouse. So this is the space from which all of our creative force gets to simmer and build up and then be brought forth into our reality. So you can see how decompression and the sacral are really positive, because it's almost like having that soup on the pot, right? And the more you add into it and the longer it's on the stove, the more sumptuous the flavors become. And so that's what the sacral chakra does. Its color is orange. And really taking the time to make that beautiful, creative, energetic space rather than rushing to the next thing, right? So when you're working with decompression, it's nice to either wear the color orange, or if you have any orange crystals, if you have, like say, orange shawls, you can put them over your lamp. And just really bringing in that frequency of orange into your visual reality. Right. And then obviously with the mantra, you can create whatever one you want. But the one that I created, again, is I notice what is going on inside of me. I honor the process and value the honest time spent with myself.
I love it. I love that. Thank you so much.
Why don't you
give your website and tell so people can contact you if they would like to, because you do this one-on-one coaching as well. If you could give your website.
Yeah, thank you. So it's www.
I know, I do the same thing. I know.
Do you? Okay, thank you. BlissPrema.com.
Okay, so we're showing our age, right?
I guess so, right? I actually had to go look up when the internet was created. That's how long ago it was, because in the last feed I was like, oh yeah, it's so 1999, and I was like, I think it was actually sooner than that.
Right, that's too
or earlier. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so just the way that what I love about the Conscious Evolver and the digital workbook, it sells for $10. It was created and gifted to me, like transmitted to me in a way that this is all self-directed. Like there is no reason why everyone can like, let me rephrase that. Every single person has the power within them to self-direct their own conscious evolution. And yet there are times where those blocks and patterns and that feeling of being stuck is so deep within us that sometimes we do need a little bit of help. Right. And so that's what I'm here for right now, is I can help be the guide. I can help be the evolutionary coach, whatever it is that you need. And so I offer 30-minute soul-to-soul conversations, and I offer 60-minute Conscious Evolver sessions. And I offer everything that I do at pay what you can afford. Wonderful. So each thing has a value, but I'm really happy to just have people do the work, and I'm happy to be the guide to help them do that.
That's wonderful. Okay, so I hope that everybody takes. I hope that everybody takes advantage of that. I also want to mention one more time, if you go to YouTube, please subscribe to Sacred Uprising. And from now until a week from Friday, whoever subscribes will be put into a contest for, somebody will win a $50 quartz crystal. And I will be showing everybody the crystal next week, and we'll do some promotions on that. So please don't miss out on that. Please have your friends subscribe as well. We would love to, what our goal is, this is not about any one particular person's voice that is part of Sacred Uprising. This is a platform for the universe to speak, for God to speak, and that your lives can be radically changed. So that is our goal.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much for watching. Solar, I'm so glad that you're feeling better, sweetie. Yeah, I know. All right, Bliss. It was wonderful to see you.
All right, thank you so much, Trish.
All right.
I just wanted to say thank you to the people that have stayed on this whole time with us. You know, your support and love is really, I can feel that. Thank you so much. And yeah, Sacred Uprising. Sacred Uprising it's such an honor and a blessing to be a part of it. Thank you so much, Trish. I love you.
Everybody will be doing another video with Christy, our transmuting butterfly. She will be doing some astrology at, I believe it's at noon, and right now it is 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. So in an hour and a half, we'll be doing another video. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Right, bye.